What is good, y'all? Thank you for joining us here on the Mission Ready Men briefing um, here on the SHR Media Network. Today is Thursday, January 16th, and LA is still burning. But today, we're not going to focus on that. We are going to talk about the confirmation hearings that are currently taking place, where the Democrats are beclowning themselves. We're going to get into the ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas, and the House actually passed some decent legislation that, I mean, quite frankly, should never really have been necessary, but here we are. But before we dive in, please do me a favor and hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, share these videos, leave some comments, because the comments are kind of what the algorithm is feeding on these days, and that's what they're using to throttle us. So if I say something you disagree with, please feel free to let me know. If you agree, let me know that too. So go ahead and do all the things. We would really appreciate it. And also pray for us, please. Pray for all of us here on the SHR Media Network, Sackhead Sean at the Edge of Liberty, Jersey Joe with the Reverb Common Sense, and BZ and the Berserk Bobcat Saloon. Pray that we all have a breakthrough and start to reach many more people, as many people as we possibly can here in 2025. We want to spread the word. But thank you for joining us here on the SHR Media Network. You can also follow this show on all the socials at Mission Ready Men on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter or X, Truth Social, and TikTok for as long as that lasts. We'll see. We'll see where that goes. And for our merch, check out missionreadymen.com. Shop 7 Armors, and you can check out the Mission Ready Men logo tee and all the other great designs that we have over there. All right, we have a lot to get to, and I tend to be long-winded, so let's get after it. All right, Pete Hegseth is well, he had his confirmation hearing the other day. We were on the air while that was going on, so I didn't have a whole lot for you. But and I'm sure you've seen a lot of it already. But there are a couple of things I did want to get into. First of all, he came out of it completely unscathed. He killed it. He was calm. He was cool. I think they were trying to bait him. I think they were trying to get him to respond with some sort of emotional response, and he wasn't having any of it. And they played themselves. They absolutely played themselves. They beclowned themselves. They made themselves look like complete idiot, look like the idiots that they are. They are. to quote President Trump, we're not sending our best. We are not sending our best to Washington. And you can say that on both sides, frankly, but the left really put it on display in Hegseth's confirmation hearing. And one of the most ridiculous, there were many, but one of the most ridiculous displays was by Tim Kaine. He was Hillary Clinton's potential VP. If we had been cursed with her as president, he would have been the VP. Thankfully, that didn't happen. But Tim Kaine, he went beyond beclowning himself. He went beyond playing himself. He was, I'm not even sure what the best way to describe it was. He was creepy. and it was completely unnecessary. He probably could have gotten his point across without going the route that he did. But check this out, because this was completely unnecessary.
On a second wife and cheat on the mother of a child that had been born 2 months before, and you tell us you are completely cleared. How is that a complete clear?
Senator, her child's name is Gwendolyn Hope Hegseth, and she's a child of God, and she's 7 years old.
And she was, and you cheated on the mother of that child less than 2 months after that daughter was born, didn't you?
Those were false charges.
Well,
It was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared. And I
completely cleared. Can you so casually cheat on a second wife?
What does any of that have to do with his ability to lead the Department of Defense? There were so many legitimate lines of inquiry, and some people touched on it, but for the most part, they left all of the legitimate lines of inquiry open. I mean, the fact that the budget for the Pentagon is billions of dollars, the fact that there are 3 million employees or whatever the number is, I can't recall off the top of my head, but those are things that you can legitimately question him about and see how he responds. But to talk about his 7-year-old daughter, to talk about his infidelity was just beyond the pale. Beyond the pale, had absolutely no bearing on his ability to lead the Department of Defense. But there was another there was another one that just, these people, man, I really don't understand what's wrong with these people. They, like I said, we're not sending our best. The Democrats are definitely not sending their best. But in response to in response to that, one of the most entertaining aspects of Hegseth's hearing was Mark Wayne Mullen, and he let them have it. He let them have it, and it was pretty fun to watch. Well, let's just take a look at it, because, like I said, it was it was glorious.
Because I Googled it and went through a lot of different sites, and really it's hard to see. But in general, the U.S. Secretary of Defense position is filled by a civilian. That's it. If you have served in the U.S. Army forces and have been in the service for, you have to be retired for at least 7 years, and Congress can weigh that. And then there's questions that the senator from Massachusetts brought up about serving on a board inside the military industry, and yet your own secretary that you all voted for, Secretary of Austin, we had to vote on a waiver because he stepped off the board of Raytheon. But I guess that's okay because that's a Democrat Secretary of Defense. But you so quickly forget about that, and then Senator Kaine, or I guess I better use the senator from Virginia, starts bringing up the fact that what if you showed up drunk to your job? How many senators have showed up drunk to vote at night? Have any of you guys asked them to step down and resign from their job? And don't tell me you haven't seen it, because I know you have. And then how many senators do you know have got a divorce before cheating on their wives? Did you ask them to step down? No, but it's for show. You guys make sure you make a big show and point out the hypocrisy because a man's made a mistake. And you want to sit there and say that he's not qualified? Give me a joke. I mean, it is so ridiculous that you guys hold yourself as this higher standard and you forget you got a big plank in your eye. Seriously. We've all made mistakes. I've made mistakes. And Jennifer, thank you for loving him through that mistake. Because the only reason why I'm here and not in prison is because my wife loved me too.
I mean, just, he's not wrong. He's absolutely not wrong. And Tim Kaine, like I said before, he was Hillary Clinton's running mate. I wonder if he had any conversations like that with Bill for all the times he cheated on Hillary and all the other things that he's been accused of that witnesses somehow mysteriously disappear. But we won't get into that. But seriously, these people are complete hypocrites, absolutely complete hypocrites. And that clip actually goes on a little longer. And we're not going to play the whole thing, but that was perhaps the most entertaining bit of Hegseth's hearing. We're going to get into some of the other hearings later on, but right now I want to get into the Hamas and Israel ceasefire hostage deal, and this is the Trump effect. This is 100% the Trump effect. And I know Biden tried to take credit for it yesterday in his farewell address, which I'm not addressing that because it was just so ridiculous. Sackhead Sean on the Edge of Liberty did a really nice breakdown of it. And you can check that out on his show after you finish watching this one, of course. But yeah, he tried to take credit for it. And the State Department actually put out a tweet saying that Trump's team's help in negotiating this deal was invaluable. So I think what they're saying is without Trump's team's input, the chances are that this would not be happening right now. And the other thing is, Trump actually said about a month or so ago that if the hostages weren't released by the time he takes office on January 20th, there will be hell to pay, quote unquote. And here we are, 4 days out from Trump taking office, and we have a potential ceasefire deal. Now, I say potential because Hamas apparently has reneged on some of the deals, some of the points of the deal that they agreed to initially, and so Benjamin Netanyahu has paused the vote as of when we started the show. That had not been rescheduled yet, so we'll see. Now, despite the fact that this was negotiated by Trump and his team for the most part, I don't think this is a particularly great deal. I read some of the I read some of the provisions in it, and it's the best thing about it is that there's a ceasefire and that fewer people are going to die. But in terms of who's getting the better end of the deal, it's certainly not Israel. There's there's 3 phases to this deal. And the first phase lasts 42 days. And during that phase, Hamas is going to release 33 hostages, including female civilians and soldiers, children and civilians over 50. For every hostage that Hamas releases, Israel is going to release 30 Palestinian terrorists. That seems pretty lopsided to me. They're going to release 30 Palestinian prisoners for each civilian hostage and 50 for each female soldier that they get back. Wow. First off, I didn't realize that Israel had that many prisoners of that many Palestinian prisoners. But Wow, that just seems like a lot. And there's going to be a halt to the fighting. Israeli forces are going to move out of areas on the edge of the Gaza Strip, and displaced Palestinians are going to return home as aid moves into the Gaza Strip. That's all well and good, but that many soldiers, that many prisoners for it's just so lopsided. I don't get it. I don't get it. And this just proves my point that I've always made, and that has been made by many other people. There would be peace between Israel and Hamas and the Palestinians if the Palestinians just stopped attacking. If the Palestinians laid down their arms, there would be peace immediately. If Israel stopped fighting, Israel would cease to exist. There's the difference. And this is pretty illustrative of that. In phase 2, Hamas frees the remaining hostages, and this is after 42 days. And what do you think the chances are that Hamas is going to hold to this for 42 days? Come on. Looks great on paper, great, but I don't see this holding up. Phase 2 is another 42 days. Hamas frees the remaining hostages in exchange for a yet to be negotiated number of Palestinian prisoners. That's a lot of Palestinian prisoners. And a full withdrawal of Israeli troops from the Gaza Strip. And then phase 3, the bodies of the deceased Israeli hostages exchanged for bodies of deceased Palestinian terrorists. Implementation of a reconstruction plan in Gaza and border crossings for movement in and out of the Gaza Strip are reopened. It just seems like a terrible, terrible deal. And like I said, Hamas is apparently making noises like they're going to back out of the deal. They're going to make it, if this deal actually goes through, and some experts are saying that despite all the back and forth that it's going to go through, what are the chances that it lasts for the entire 84 days for the first 2 phases? I give it 2 weeks tops, maybe 3. Hamas cannot be trusted. They're terrorists. Their word means absolutely nothing. This is a complete 180 because their goal is to wipe Israel off the map. So it just seems like a delay tactic to me. It seems like nothing is really going to happen. We'll see. I pray that there is a sincere change of heart and that this actually does happen and that there is peace. I've just lived long enough to know that that's probably not going to happen. Well, what do you think? Do you think that Hamas is gonna honor this deal? Because I have serious reservations about it. And it's like I said, it's only because I've lived long enough to know that Hamas be trusted. I mean, look at what they did on October 7th that precipitated all of this. I mean, all right, before we move on, I do want to get a word from our sponsor, My Freedom Beef. Now, we just heard recently that the FDA has finally banned red dye number 3, which is a known carcinogen. But I don't know if you knew this. It was actually declared a carcinogen back in the 50s. And because the maraschino cherry industry lobbied successfully to have it stay in, we're still dealing with red dye number 5. It's been that long. So you cannot trust anything from any of these government agencies whatsoever. You cannot trust them with your food. But you can trust My Freedom Beef because they know what's in their food. When you buy from them, you know what's in your food. It is 100% Angus cattle, not just certified, but 100% Angus cattle with no antibiotics, no hormones, no mRNA vaccines, raised in a pasture and grass-fed. And like I said before, there are other beef box options out there. But this is the only one that can say they're Patriot-owned with 100% Black Angus genetics. We all deserve to be able to afford to feed our family with food, with meat we can trust. So see why 20,000 Patriots a month are switching to My Freedom Beef to get the finest beef in America sent to your door at unbeatable prices. Check out our sponsors at myfreedombeef.com/Jackson today. I got some chats coming in, but can't really see them and can't show them to you, so I'm not gonna bother with that. I did want to go back to the confirmation hearings for a bit because not only did Hegseth acquit himself exceptionally well, but I would venture to guess. Not guess. It's my opinion that Pam Bondi did better than Hegseth did on her first day. She was not playing around. She was not having it, and she basically made fools out of everyone, all of the Democrats who tried to come after her. And my favorite one was Alex Padilla. And she let him have it. She let him have it, and it was glorious. There was another clip of her and Sheldon Whitehouse and a few others. I'm not going to get into all of it, but this one between her and Alex Padilla is just awesome. And these people, and I said it before in the Hegseth segment, these people are not bright. They're not. And they're proving it over and over again. They cannot hang with the conservatives. Conservatives have been proving themselves to just be way far superior to them intellectually. This is this is Alex Padilla trying to get a gotcha on Pam Bondi. She's having none of it.
I'm speaking. Your job will be to protect voters and election workers, not to undermine and dox them. Now, I know that earlier you agreed that Joe Biden is in fact president, but many of the president-elect's inner circle continue to spread the big lie about the 2020 election. Then we'll move on to a different topic.
Senator, you were speaking. May I speak? You cut me off when I was speaking. When I ask you the next question, you can
speak, and I hope you answer, Ms. Bondi.
Well, I'd like to answer the previous one, Senator.
When we met yesterday,
you pointed your finger at me and said you were speaking. Let me answer my question. I'm not going to be bullied by you, Senator
Padilla. The 14th Amendment of the United States of America, which was deeply disappointing.
I guess you didn't want to hear my answer about
today after I gave an opportunity to study overnight. So can you tell me in this committee what the citizenship clause of the 14th Amendment says?
Senator, I'm here to answer your questions. I'm not here to do your homework and study for you. If I am confirmed as
You're the
Attorney
one
General.
asking for a confirmation
Hey,
vote,
you
ma'am.
cut me off. Can I please finish?
What does the 14th Amendment say?
Senator, the 14th Amendment, we all know, addresses birthright citizenship. I've been a state prosecutor. I've been a state AG. I look forward to, even given your remarks today, working with you and the people of California if I am confirmed as the 87th Attorney General of the United States of America. I didn't take your homework assignment. I'm sorry. I was preparing for today.
Your job will be?
She said, I didn't take your homework assignment. I mean, that was just, how does he recover from that? Now, I didn't watch the entire, I watched most of Hegseth's hearing. I didn't watch the entirety of Pam Bondi's hearing, but wow, just, she just made mincemeat of these leftists. And Marco Rubio, he had a nice moment when they tried to disrupt his hearing, but from what I saw, it was pretty milquetoast. It looks like even the Democrats on the committee is going to vote for him, and he'll sail through. I think. Not my favorite pick. Wouldn't have been my first choice, but if he's committed to the America First agenda, then let's have it. Let's have it. And I know yesterday John Radcliffe had his hearing. I didn't get a chance to see any of that, which tells me that there wasn't a whole lot of fireworks with his either. And there are a few today. Pam Bondi is back for day 2. I haven't seen anything from that yet. Lee Zeldin and Doug Burgum. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully, there's some nice fireworks from them as well. I really hope so, because it's just entertaining to watch these fools clown themselves the way they are. I mean, it really is. I mean, Hegseth with Elizabeth Warren, when they had the entire room laughing at her. I'm not a general. Oh, that was awesome. Speaking in terms of the legislature and everything that's going on, the House has passed some pretty good legislation, and I'm actually it's really the fact that they had to pass this legislation is silly to me, because it wasn't just 5 minutes ago we knew the difference between men and women, boys and girls, and any suggestion of men pretending to be women being in women's spaces, pretending or competing against women, or boys pretending to be girls competing against girls. You would have been left out of the room. It just wasn't a thing. And now we actually have to have legislation banning it. And the House did just pass a bill banning boys pretending to be girls from competing against girls in sports. The Protection of Women and Girls in Sports Act amends Title IX to make sure that sex is the only determining factor when it comes to participating in sports. The specific language is: sex shall be recognized based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. Like I said, 5 minutes ago, everybody knew that, everybody agreed to it, and to suggest otherwise was just ridiculous. Yet here we are. Here we are where there has to be legislation to this effect. How far we've fallen just is, it boggles the mind. And let's take a look at this story real quick. There's a few points I want to get into. Because believe it or not, there are Democrats who are actually really upset that this happened. Now, two Democrats, all the Democrats except for two voted against it. And those Democrats happen to be from Texas, and they voted against it because they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that their constituents are going to vote them out if they vote to have boys competing against girls. Jerry Nadler and other Democrats denounced the measure as a cruel attack on transgender children, with Nadler even suggesting that the measure could allow authorities to subject biological women to genital examination. Well, again, just ridiculous. Present a birth certificate. And once kids reach puberty, it becomes, it's obvious even before that, but once that happens, it becomes so plainly obvious that no examination of that type is necessary. Come on. But President Biden and his administration tried to broaden Title IX to include transgender, gender confused people. I hate using that term. Gender confused, gender deluded people, especially boys, do not. And that's the other thing. It almost never goes the other way. There is one swimmer I know of, and I can't think of their name off the top of my head. There is one swimmer I know of who allegedly transitioned from female to male, a woman pretending to be a man who ended up on a male collegiate swim team. Only one. And I'm not familiar with their record once they did that. I don't know how that went. I know that person has a podcast now and stuff like that. So you feel free to look it up. I can't remember their name, but just use your favorite search engine to look it up. And there is actually a new search engine if you don't want to use Google. And I'm just mentioning this as an aside because I just found it yesterday, called, you know what? I can't remember what it's called now. It's a conservative search engine, results something or other. Feel free to check it out. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. It is completely unfair to have men and boys competing against women and girls. And the fact that you even have to say that is ridiculous, because it's something that just is so obviously true. It's unfair because on average, men are just bigger, stronger, and faster than women. And because men are bigger, stronger, and faster than women, it's not only unfair, but it's unsafe. It is unsafe. It's unsafe when it comes to contact sports like basketball, softball. And it's unsafe when it comes to having to change in the same locker room as a dude pretend to be a woman. Just ask Riley Gaines. Just ask all the female swimmers that had to hide themselves when they were competing against Billy Thomas and he was in their locker room getting undressed. So it's unsafe in terms of the competition. It's unsafe in terms of women's safety in general. And all we're doing is catering to people with a mental illness. And I know this is probably going to get me banned from YouTube, but it's the truth. Men who think they're women and women who think they're men, they need counseling. They need prayer. They don't need to be competing against people of the opposite sex. They don't need to be in the same changing area as people of the opposite sex. Because just because they think it doesn't make it true. And I think the changing in the locker room aspect of it is obvious. But on the competition side of things, ask Peyton McNabb how it was to compete against a boy. She was a volleyball player in North Carolina. She got a ball spiked in her face, and she was knocked out. She was in the hospital. This was 2 years ago now, I think. She still is suffering from impaired vision as a result of that injury. Partial paralysis on her right side. Constant headaches, anxiety, depression. And as far as people like Jerry Nadler and these Democrats who think it's fine, it's just part of the game. But it's not. There, over in the UK, there are a judo competitor, a 6-foot, 225-pound dude pretending to be a woman, broke the finger of one woman and dislocated the shoulder of another during a judo competition. But we're just supposed to be okay with this? It makes absolutely no sense. And another one that hit home for me, the collegiate charter school in Lowell, the collegiate charter school girls basketball team, they forfeited because the team there was a dude on their opposing team that injured 3 of their players, and they had to forfeit that game. He injured 3 girls and then what comes to my mind is where are the fathers? Where are the fathers who are storming the court saying, no, this is not going to happen? And another one, a Dighton Rehoboth field hockey player was injured by a dude and this is up in Massachusetts again, injured by a dude on a Swampscott field hockey team. She took a field hockey ball to the face and had a bunch of her teeth knocked out. And you hear the left talk a lot about, especially when it comes to guns, if it saves just one life, it's worth it. If it prevents just one injury, it's worth it. Well, I just gave you 3 out of a list of hundreds of women and girls who have been injured by guys pretending to be girls. So if that logic were to hold true, then preventing any of these women from being injured ever again seems to be the right way to go. But they don't care. And of course, we know that they want to advance this trans agenda. And for the life of me, I don't really understand why. I mean, yeah, they want equality for these sexual deviants. I understand that, but there has to be something deeper than that. And I really don't get it. Because if all it is just equality, if all it is just tolerance, you're willing to tolerate these guys beating up on these girls, and the Olympic boxer who had his opponent quit in 43 seconds because she'd never been hit that hard before. And a lot of the leftists tried to say that it was just a dude. Well, it turns out that that person actually had undescended testicles and was genetically a dude, as if we couldn't see that. Anyway, if somebody can tell me what the true agenda is, because like I said, it just seems too surface level. There's got to be something deeper, because if all it is equality, then do they hate women? Do they just want men to take all the roles of, is that what they want? And if that's what well, what came to my mind just now was Handmaid's Tale. Because if all the dudes pretending to be women are doing all the women's jobs, then the only thing left for women to do is have babies. Otherwise, the species dies out. So, I mean, I don't know. I really don't understand. It's mystifying to me. All right, you know what? That's enough of that. I can't deal with that anymore. Let's circle back to Israel for a second, because I came across this story as I was looking up, researching what was going on in Hamas with this peace deal. Fire. It's not really a peace deal, because Hamas doesn't really want peace, regardless of what happens with this ceasefire. Peace is not their end goal. It's just not. But I came across this story where they did a study that found that nearly half of the world's adults have a negative view or anti-Semitic views of Israel. And we all know why that is. We all know why that is. But this was pretty fascinating. A worldwide study finds that 46% of the population believes in a number of anti-Jewish tropes, and 20% have never heard of the Holocaust. Wow. Never heard of the Holocaust. And reading this story, there are a lot of people who think the numbers of the Holocaust are exaggerated and stuff like that. But this survey asked 58,000 respondents in 103 countries and territories if they agreed with 11 anti-Semitic tropes, such as Jews' loyalty is only to Israel and Jews have too much power in the business world. Excuse me. Wow. People actually believe some of this stuff. And of course, it says the level of anti-Semitism varies by country and region. The Middle East and North Africa with the highest levels. Go figure. They're all Arab, Muslim countries that hate Israel. Western Europe being the least anti-Semitic region at 17%. The Americas at 24%. But look at some of these anti-Semitic opinions that a lot of people hold. Jews still talk too much about what happened to them in the Holocaust. They don't care about what happens to anyone but their own kind. Jews think they're better than other people. Jews have a lot of irritating faults. You can say that about anyone. You can take that stereotype and extrapolate it out to anyone. Black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It doesn't matter. That's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Jews have too much control over the media. Jews are responsible for most of the world's wars. Well, how are Jews responsible for what's going on in Ukraine? Anyway, it boggles the mind that people are this stupid. And then you realize that the education system, not just in this country, but apparently all over the world, is just in shambles. I talked earlier in the show about how a lot of the Democrats in Congress are just stupid. When you think back to the founding fathers and a lot of our early history, those were brilliant men. If you read their writings, if you read the speeches that they delivered in the House and the Senate, the George Washington speeches, Patrick Henry, Thomas Paine, when you look at those men and the things that they accomplished and the things that they wrote, and then you look at people like Tim Kaine and Mazie Hirono, who is, I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, the dumbest person in Washington. And I'm including Joe Biden in that. In his current state, yes, Mazie Hirono is that stupid. And she may even be dumber than Ted Lieu and Eric Swalwell. And if you've followed me for any length of time, you know how stupid I think those people are. And Mazie Hirono has them beat. And so the education system has not just failed these people, but it's indoctrinated them to have these anti-Semitic views. Look at this chart right here. It's kind of hard to see. Never mind. But it basically just says that there are 4% of the people who responded to this survey believe that the Holocaust is a myth. Just and 20% never heard of the Holocaust. Wow. And the only reason you can have for not hearing about the Holocaust is your education was crap. Just boggles the mind. Boggles the mind. That does not bode well. That does not bode well for this country or any others for that matter. because the further removed we get, because right now we still have people who were around, who lived through it. The further removed we get from that, a lot of those people in the next probably 10 years, there probably won't be any of them left. Maybe not even 10, maybe 5. And then people will be at the mercy of the propagandists who are propagating this lie that the Holocaust never happened. And that 4% number in 5, 10, 15 years could be 20%. Next thing you know, half the population doesn't believe that the Holocaust actually happened. We got to pray that this changes. Maybe this ceasefire deal could be the catalyst for that. I'm not particularly hopeful in that regard. Not particularly optimistic. I am hopeful. I'm not optimistic. I think it's going to take something else, but we'll see. We'll see, and we'll keep an eye on the ceasefire deal, and I'm actually gonna keep an eye on this too, because that's shocking to me, because as a Christian, I believe that we have an obligation to support Israel, and that doesn't mean I believe that we need to be sending them all the money that we send them and stuff like that. But I believe that we need to support Israel. They are our only ally over there in the Middle East, our only democratic ally in the Middle East. I know Saudi Arabia is an ally, but anyway. All right, I'm going to get you out of here with something a little lighter fare. This one was actually hilarious to me, and it involves our friend Nancy Mace and one of my least favorite reps from the great state of Texas, Jasmine Crotchet. They got into it over this transgender bill that eventually passed. But and when I say that not sending our best, I mean, I like Nancy Mace, but she can be a little much. But in this particular instance, I thought it was pretty funny.
Really are struggling right now, so she gonna keep saying trans so that people will feel threatened. And child, listen, I want y'all
I
to
am
tell
no
me
child.
whether or
Do
not
not call me a child. I am no child.
I want
Don't
to
even
find
start.
out
I am a grown
which
woman.
of those
I'm 47 years
emails
old. I have broken
actually
more
have.
glass ceilings than you
Chairman,
ever
I
will
am
in my
reclaiming my
lifetime.
time.
You will not do that.
Order.
I am not a
Chairman,
child.
I am
not a
reclaiming
child.
my time.
If you want to take it outside,
Mr. Chairman, the committee is not
Okay.
in order.
She said, if you want to take it outside. Now, on one hand, I think it's hilarious. I love it. On the other hand, I think that as a 47-year-old grown woman, she could have handled that a little better. Now, for my purposes here on the show, I think it's great. But like I said, and I know that there's a history of men getting into fights on the House floor and stuff like that. I get it. And so it's not, we don't really want our men taking it outside and getting into fights. As entertaining as that might have been, it's not really what we want to see. Again, for purposes of this show, I thought it was hilarious, but it's another example, and I'm picking on Nancy Mace right now, only because Jasmine Ratchet, she kind of brings that stuff on herself because she claims to be a lawyer. And when I hear some of the things that she says, I have to wonder what law school she graduated from, because she is one of the least articulate members of Congress that I've seen. She speaks borderline Ebonics, and I don't know, some of you may not remember that from back in the day, but wow. I mean, as much of an idiot as she is, AOC is more articulate than Jasmine Ratchet, and that's saying something. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it for us here today. I will try to do better the next time. I want to thank you all for watching. Please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, share, leave us some comments. I see that there have been some comments on the video, so thank you very much. Thank you for those comments. Thank you for watching. But please continue to do that. Continue to comment, like, and subscribe, and share these videos, share these episodes, because we want to beat the algorithm. We want to spread the word, spread the gospel of Jesus Christ and the message of hope and liberty to as many people as possibly can, and preserve it for future generations. Because the way the education system is right now, we can't rely on them to do that for us. So please do that. Do all the things like I said before. And if you like the shirt, if you want to check out the Mission Ready Men logo shirt or any of the other shirts that we have on the shop, head over to missionreadymen.com, shop 7 Armors, and check us out. All right. As usual, when seconds count, the police are only minutes away, but the Lord is right there with you. So keep your prayers going up and your head on a swivel. God bless.